Hello, ComicBook Clique Multiverse. I am your friendly neighborhood Andre, and this is my sister Elise.
I'm just a kid from Brooklyn, and today we're here to talk about the comics that we read this week. So first up, we got Doctor Strange from...
The all-new, all-different Marvel.
So this is actually the first comic that I've ever read in my whole entire life, because I'm all caught up with the shows and the movies and everything, but I decided to finally pick up a comic now that Doctor Strange is on its way. And so it starts off with the origin story. He's a doctor, which fits his name, Doctor Strange.
A surgeon.
A surgeon, right?
A hand surgeon.
No, he's not a hand surgeon.
But he uses his hands.
His hands are paralyzed in his accident that he got into. And he's looking for a cure to fix his hands because his ego is over the roof. He needs to fix his hands. He's the best in the world. And he finds this mysterious wizard called the Ancient One who helps him develop his magic and his sorcery skills that we now know him as Doctor Strange.
Yep, that's short and simple origin story, all explained in one page. That they actually use original art and panels from the original Doctor Strange comic books.
Super cool.
Super cool.
So it goes in, and right away after this origin story, he's fighting these gross monsters, and it's just it's really just gross.
Yeah,
it's strange.
Yep, it looks like a very weird dimension with these monsters and creepy looking things floating around him. And yeah.
Well, little do you know, it's not really a weird dimension, but in fact inside of a kid's head, because...
Yep, they show Doctor Strange floating in a room, sitting in a pretzel, floating in a room with his eyes closed, making kissing sounds.
Because he was kissing a soul eater as he, when he finished fighting these things, but to the outside world, to his parents, to his kid's parents, he's just sitting there floating as he's...
making kissing sounds.
Yeah, it's really strange. But the kid he wakes up and he's free of whatever burden was holding him back. And the parents are like, oh, whatever can we do to thank you? And he's just like, oh, you should go to the neighbor's house next door because his birthday's coming up soon. So I thought that was really sweet, and I thought that he's not really this Tony Stark kind of hate guy that you think that he is, that he's first introduced to be.
That he's an egotistical a-hole.
But he's not. He's got feelings, and it just makes you want to flip the page and read more about this Doctor Strange guy.
Mm-hmm. So what happened after he walked away from this kid's house that he rescued and freed his mind from demonic soul eaters in his head?
Well, you find out that he has a third eye, and that's how he sees all the monsters that we can't see that is all around us. Mm-hmm. Well, because it's taking place in New York City, so you can see that everything that he sees is in color. Well, everything we see is in black and white, so that's kind of pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
That what we see is a black and white world. There's just so much more into it. There's so much color that we can't see.
Yeah. Pretty much to compare it to something, if you ever watch the Men in Black movies, you know the Men in Black agents can see things that us normal humans can't. Or in Harry Potter, the wizards can see something that muggles can't see. Same thing with Doctor Strange. With his third eye, he can see demons and weird stuff that us normal people can't see.
Talking about Harry Potter has this this place where they all, a bar kind of thing, that they have here, the secret hidden bar only for witches and wizards and sorcerers and stuff. So all of the witches and wizards go here.
Yeah, so...
which is where he tells them about his little making out with the soul eater, and how the other guy tells him about how everything comes with a price and everything. And anyway, on his way home, this librarian is there from the Bronx.
Just to retract for you Marvel fans, that in this bar, there's other magicians, just as Scarlet Witch, Dr. Voodoo, and Magic, that are hanging out in this magician's only secret underground bar. So that's pretty cool if you're into those characters also.
Yeah.
Alright, and continue the story.
Zelma.
Yep.
The librarian who's at his door because he's famous for dealing with these kind of demonic weirdness that goes on in people's lives and stuff. It's kind of who are you gonna call?
Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange, not Ghostbusters in this world. You gotta call Doctor Strange. He's good with this stuff. So she's debating whether or not to go inside his house, which is this right here. And he convinces her to go inside without letting her know that he is in fact Doctor Strange. And she comes in and he finds out that she has these monsters in her head. Kind of makes my head itch.
Yeah, she has some type of magical virus in her head.
That he actually has no idea what it is.
Yeah. Like, the whole time he's talking to her and she's nervous, he's like, I'm a doctor, I've been dealing with these magical sorcery type problems for a while now. If you have a problem, I've probably come across it before and I could totally deal with it. But when he actually takes a look under her hat and see what she has, she's like, wow, I actually have no idea what this is.
But he doesn't tell her that because, need to keep everyone calm and collected. And, so he gets it out of her head, right?
Yep.
And puts it into his own body in the second,
The second issue, yeah.
Right, that's the word. See, that's how you know I'm not into comic books. I don't even know what the second book is called.
Right. So, I'm going to show you guys the image right here. This is the image right here of the demons inside of this girl's head. And he finally exorcises them out of her head. So they're roaming free in his house.
I don't believe that's the right word to use, but okay, it's kind of like supernatural.
Yeah, gets rid of these demons out of her head. And that's the end of that problem until the second issue. But on the last few pages of the first issue, we're introduced to this huge cliffhanger moment in which we find they take us to another dimension where there's a sorcerer supreme for that dimension. That's not Doctor Strange. And he is pretty much murdered by a group of people who want to get rid of all magic in the entire universe, multiverse.
And you're kind of like, whoa, well, I just got introduced to this world. Why are they trying to get rid of the magic, right? So you have to read the next book to find out.
Yep.
The next issue. Which kind of continues into his weird house and his strange house, and it kind of goes into the story of how he takes it out of her head, puts it into his body, and the last page, of course, goes back to these people that are trying to get rid of all magic, and how it's like a disease and they have to get rid of this corruption.
That's pretty much a quick summary for number 2. Quick summary is that those monsters that were in the young librarian's head are in his house, so they're exploring his house, which has a whole bunch of weird stuff, like his kitchen.
Oh, he eats such gross things, it's so gross.
Yeah, like, he warned everyone about his kitchen.
You don't want to eat while you're reading these books. I don't suggest it.
Like, he literally has his refrigerator chain locked, and it got open somehow, and you get to see, like, there's everything in his refrigerator is pretty much still alive and out of this world. Yep. And once again, the end of the issue, that same sorcerer supreme that we thought was killed in the first issue, he's alive somehow. And, like, he somehow escaped, and he opened up a door into Doctor Strange's house, but something pulled him back in, and you could hear them talking, saying, "Oh, we gotta burn them. We gotta burn all the magic in the world." So pretty much, foreshadowing of what's gonna happen in the upcoming stories in Doctor Strange is that, I believe, what's the group called? That's trying to kill all these people of magic. They have a group name, like
I don't know. They always say like
X something.
All hail the Empirical or something like that.
Yeah, Empirical or Experical. So this group is pretty much trying to exterminate all magic from the world.
They are called the Empirical.
Empirical.
EMPIRIKUL. Empirical.
Yeah.
Okay, so the third one, it starts off. I really like the way it's like referring in second person, so you really feel like connected to this. You know those weird feelings you get sometimes that you can't explain? Like when you swear there's someone watching you even though you're alone. And like, so he kind of goes on telling us all these things and how he lies to people telling them, you've just got a healthy imagination is all. But the truth is, you're never alone. So for me, that's just a page turner. That's a really good hook. I just want to kind of read more. And basically, he's defeating all these things that we don't see around us that we kind of get the feeling to, but we don't actually see them. And he's saying that that's him, this is all magic. And it's these like slug things over here who've come to our earth, who are usually in this dimension full of magic, and they just kind of feed off of this magic. So he finds it weird that these slugs are here instead of in the happy place where they could feed off all the magic. And later on in this issue, he finds out that this place has actually sucked dry of all of its magic, and it goes back into this empirical thing, they're trying to get rid of all magic, like a Holocaust type thing for people who have magic.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much magic Nazis is what these people are.
Yeah. That's kind of this third one here.
And on to the fourth issue of Doctor Strange. It starts off with a flashback of Doctor Strange's training with the Origin. The guy from his Origin, the Ancient One, who is the magician that taught him magic. And pretty much the whole lesson that it starts off with is if you throw a normal punch and it takes a physical toll on you, imagine what type of toll it would take on you when casting a spell. Pretty much every spell you use takes a toll on you also. The harder the punch, the harder the impact on you it has. And, it shows him throwing up and becoming physically sick from all the spells that he casts. So it pretty much shows that there's a bad side effect to all the spells that Doctor Strange casts.
So a lot of people think that all of these people who like science rather than magic, the people killing all the magic people, is because he hasn't paid his price. They think this is the price that he has to pay now.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much all of his magic that he's used is catching up to him now.
Even though it's kind of not true because he's like throwing up every day anyway.
Yeah, they show him throwing up. Yep, throwing up. And now he's back in the bar with Scarlet Witch, Dr. Voodoo, Magic, and other characters I've never heard about that have some magical powers in the Marvel Universe. And they're all talking about the balance of magic and how things are... Now they're starting to notice that things are not right in the magical world, that things are offset because of this group. But they're not sure about this group. They're like, that's things that us as the reader, we found out, but they are totally clueless as to what's going on.
Correct. Alright. How Doctor Strange thinks that their enemy is coming, but in fact the enemy is already there.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And it's good. The librarian, Zelmer, she's still sticking around. Doctor Strange pretty much hired her to be his own personal librarian to help organize his books in his house. So she's going to be a permanent character, it seems like, in Doctor Strange books. Yep. And in this story, they pretty much travel to some place in Asia, I believe it is, right? That snowy place. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, so pretty much short...
Anyway.
Long story short, issue number 4 ends with Doctor Strange finding out that the enemy is already in their presence. So they pretty much have no time to prepare for them like they thought they were. And issue number 5 picks right on up with Doctor Strange and this dude, his assistant / sidekick that lives with him. What's his name? Dr. Wong, something like that. Some Asian type of name. They take a trip to the Himalayas, to the Temple of Watum, which is another magical place where Doctor Strange was trained at in magic. And that's when they first encounter the Empirical, this, magic Nazi group, pretty much.
Alright. Huh? Is that right? I feel like in that place, that's where Wong is sacrificing these people because Doctor Strange believes that everything goes without a price, so he's like sacrificing these people. But doesn't the Empirical come to his house?
They're all over the world, actually. There's like a magical takeover going on.
Right,
in this
they
issue.
go from like each magical place, just sucking them dry.
Yep.
Their magic. And should we move on to issue 6?
Issue number 6, okay.
So issue number 6, basically he's fighting the Empirical, and the Empirical is taking all these all the magic from every single place, and they do in fact succeed in taking the magic from every place. His house is drained from magic, and every place that we've heard of, like here goes Aladdin and Jasmine falling out of the sky because their magic carpet doesn't work anymore. Harry Potter, his prophecy will never come true. The boy who's lived doesn't get to have his magic, and which is all baffling. You're just left off in awe that magic, that the world of magic that you just been introduced to has actually been wiped dry.
And by the way, it's not actually Aladdin and Jasmine and Harry Potter. They're just like kind of rip-offs from Disney that look like them.
Yeah.
And issue number 7, just a quick summary of this, is pretty much the origin story of the bad guys, the Empirical.
How they were born out of science.
Yep.
And born to like hate magic because their parents were killed by magic.
Pretty much like, you know, in the old school world where we heard, you know, stories of, you know, Christianity looking down at magic and wanting to, you know, kill anything involved with magic. It was pretty much the reverse role in their world where they looked at science like a devil worshipping thing, you know? And anyone who used magic, anyone who used...
No, science first and magic now.
Yeah, you're right. So either way, they just want to exterminate it, pretty much.
Now they want to exterminate magic. And they have, like, kind of succeeded. They have all these sorcerers in a prison towards the end. And, it kind of leaves them off in this prison where they're like, we don't have enough magic. Because there's some hidden magic. And they don't have enough magic to get them out. And Doctor Strange says, you're right, there's not enough magic.
Yeah. So, pretty much, issue 7 ends with the bad guys are in the advantage here. They are wiping out magic from Earth completely and slowly.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I was kind of upset by the way it ended. I mean, not that it's ended because it's got to continue, but we have to wait until
issue number 8. Yep.
May 25th of this month, so we're edging closer. So I can't wait to see how these sorcerers get out of here and where they find their last bits of magic left on this world.
Yep. Hidden magic. And
it's a really good read.
Doctor Strange 1 through 7. So as a new reader that I read comics before, were you lost at all? Any background information was felt left out, or would you recommend this for new readers of comics?
I would recommend this for new readers because I know a lot about Doctor Strange. Like, I wasn't lost with Doctor Strange's story at all. It was the other characters in this thing. Like, I know about Scarlet Witch because, like I said, I watched the movies and everything. But everybody else that was mentioned, I was kind of like, you could kind of assume they were part of magic, but you don't really know who they are. But you're still not lost. They're not like a big game-changing thing in this comic.
Yeah, they pretty much just make cameos.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So I wasn't lost. I just I would like to know more about them now, actually.
Yeah. So on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you rate this book?
Like I said before, this is my first comic, so I have nothing to compare it to. So I don't know if that makes any sense. If I can't really rate this, like.
All right. Well, good, really good, great, excellent.
Great.
All right. Yep. Same here. Great book. I give it 8 out of 10.
Yeah, it sounds reasonable.
Great read. It's definitely Doctor Strange #1 was my favorite #1 book that came out from any of the other all different Marvel books that came out, because they did a great job of explaining who Doctor Strange is. Yep. So that's it for our Doctor Strange review, and on to the next book, Wonder Woman Earth 1. All right. So, would you like to take the helms with this one also?
Alright, so me personally, I liked Wonder Woman more than Doctor Strange, just because I'm a fan of Wonder Woman. I'm a big feminist, and I liked the imagery, like the drawings and illustration in this book a lot better. There's a lot more color into it, and I'm also a big fan of like Greek mythology and just mythology in general, so it had a lot of that involved with this. It starts off with Hercules, who you originally think is a hero, a good guy, but in the beginning of this, he's harassing Wonder Woman's mother, like sexually harassing her mother.
Plain out abusing her.
Yeah, it's really gross. There's a lot of vulgar images in this comic that I was just kind of personally just a little offended by how they sexualize women. So, but I also don't like the way this feminist outlook is of how they hate men, because that's not really what feminism is. It's equality. But besides all the sexism, I thought it was a really good read.
Yeah, I thought it was a really good origin story of Wonder Woman. It was definitely different. Earth One is a out of continuity stories. Pretty much, Earth One has nothing to do with the New 52 or the upcoming DC Rebirth. It's a own separate story of its own, and this origin story is really good. Starts off 3,000 years ago, like she said, with Hercules abusing the enslaved Amazons, pretty much, and finally Wonder Woman's mother revolts back and fights against Hercules, beats him, and the Amazons, who were slaves at that time, are free, and they create their own.
She prays to the Greek goddess Aphrodite, was it?
Yes, if that's how you pronounce it.
Aphrodite, yeah, that's the goddess of beauty and
Hmm.
love and all that. So she prays to her, and basically that's when they get their own paradise island of just women and no men, just free of all the hatred and abuse of men. And that's we skip 3,000 years later, where Wonder Woman's story really starts to get into play here. She's actually in trial
Mm-hmm.
because she's not okay. So it kind of goes back and forth a little bit.
Oh,
I wasn't lost, but because she's on trial, and on trial she tells her story of what happened. So it goes from trial to her story and back to the trial again. And basically she's saying it was her decision to come here on trial because she took Hercules' lion mask. So if you know the story of Hercules, he wears this that's this head of a lion that he's killed.
Okay.
She takes it and she it's a tradition to run, and she's not supposed to fight back in these games that they have, but she fights back, and she takes the plane of the Wonder Woman, the champion there, and flies it off to save a man. What's his name?
Steve Trevor. And for you experienced comic book readers, you already know Steve Trevor is one of the main love interests of Wonder Woman. And in Earth
I did
One,
not know that.
in Earth One, Steve Trevor here is a black male instead of the traditional Steve Trevor where he's a white male. So that's a little change up in the character here.
So basically, she risks everything, every tradition that her mother and every woman in
The Amazons.
and the Amazons live for, to save this man who crashed on their island, and she takes him back to USA. She pronounces it's funny. It's kind of funny. She takes him to a hospital, and she's just full of disgust of everything that our world has to offer, and how our women don't they don't look like their women there, and how they're just they're fat, they're in disproportion, they're dying, they're old. So she's like, no, we gotta fix this.
Yep.
So she goes and she's trying to convince them to bow down to these her ladies, and that's how she'll save them and everything, because she's not really used to our ways. And yeah, she meets this lady who tells her that's not the way it's gonna work. But what happens?
Okay, so yeah, like she said, this is Wonder Woman's first time stepping out of the female-only Amazon land. She's never seen a man in her life. Like her first time meeting Steve Trevor, when Steve Trevor crash landed into their island, she was like, "Are you a man?" And she was. She
touched him.
Yeah,
that was funny.
she kind of unpurposely sexually harassed him. Like she pretty much touched him in the genital area, trying to see what was down there.
Yeah, he was like, can you move your hand? Excuse me.
First time ever seeing a man.
It's funny.
So and first time in the man's world is what she refers it to, because that's the Amazons' perception of man's world is that only men live there, but they find out that females live there, and they're all out of shape, or obese, or dying in a hospital or whatnot. Whereas in the Amazons' world, all the females are, goddesses, pretty much. They're all very strong and
hot.
Athletic, hot swimsuit wearing females. So when she sees, people who are not goddess looking figures.
She's mad. She's really mad.
She thinks that it's because of man's world that are making these women weak.
not only is she mad, but her mother's mad that her daughter ran away from home, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
and betrayed her. So she sends Medusa, and if you know Greek mythology, you're familiar with Medusa, you look into her eyes and she turns you to stone. So she sends that into man's world, and Medusa is roaming around the hospital. Was it the hospital? She's roaming around the world, or Earth.
Somewhere in
and she actually, she turns
innocent people into stone.
Stephen?
Yeah, and Steve Trevor.
Steve Trevor into stone. So, Wonder Woman brings Steve to Amazonia.
Yep, Amazonia.
And uses him in her trial, and uses that purple laser thing that they have to turn him back into a man.
Yep, some magical purple sunshine ray, UV ray, this what is it called, blaster or something? It pretty much somehow magically heals people from whatever. And it's not explained how it happens. It's just Greek mythology. We're supposed to assume that could just magically happen.
But he's using the trial with the lasso of truth and everything, to say exactly what he feels, and not all the men are the same. He actually he felt bad because his ancestors were enslaved by men with too much power, so that's why he's on Wonder Woman's side for saving her. And we find out that men was drawn to Amazonia because of the mother's mirror, and so this is all kind of her fault, and she puts her mother on trial by the lasso of truth. Not only just because of this, there was more hidden behind this, and we find out that Wonder Woman just kind of wanted to know where she came from and who she really is, and if she was really just molded out of clay. And when she questions her mother, she finds out that she is in fact the daughter of Hercules.
Oh yes, she's the daughter of Hercules. But her whole life, her mother's been lying to her, saying that she took clay and molded Wonder Woman out of clay, and she was given life by how the power of
the gods.
Yeah, the gods gave her life out of clay, and that was her supposed origin story. That's what Wonder Woman, how she believes she became to be, but really, she's the daughter of Hercules and her mother.
So her mother kind of feels bad and is all like, OMG, like, take my crown away.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you could be the queen now. And Wonder Woman's like, whoa, that means I can never leave here. Like, she wants to leave and she wants to help our world. And it turns out that her mom can't actually step down from being queen because that's, like, her job, like, permanently made job,
Mm-hmm.
So she remains as queen, her mother, and Wonder Woman travels to Earth to try to fix things up.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a long story short of this volume 1 of Wonder Woman Earth 1.
It's really cool. And in the back of this one, we have the hardcover. So, like, they have this little sketchbook where they show you, like, different Wonder Woman art that they were, like, working on in the process of. And I think that's pretty cool to look at, not gonna lie.
Yeah. So, would you say you like this book better than Doctor Strange?
I did, personally.
You did?
Like I said, I'm into everything this book has to offer.
Mm-hmm. Personally, I like the Doctor Strange book better than Wonder Woman. Because, there was just a lot of pointlessness in this book, I felt like.
What do you mean?
Like, I didn't feel like there was enough, reason behind, like, a lot of people's actions here. Like, it wasn't as relatable. Like, I can't really relate to Wonder Woman's mother not wanting Wonder Woman to go to USA, to the mainland.
I can. I mean, and probably as a girl, like, I feel like mothers don't want you to do a lot of things, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's like a typical mother-daughter relationship here, and I, like, when she was arguing with her mother a lot, like, excuse me, I gotta be my own person, I need to find out who I am. Her mother's like, no, you gotta follow my rules. Why? Because I'm the mom. Like, I don't know, does your mom do that? Like, why? Because I'm the mom? That's the kind of thing that's going on here, and I feel like it was more relatable. Like, I'm not fighting magic in my life. It's interesting to read. That's why you read comics, so you can read things that you don't typically do. But in me, I feel like I want to be more like Wonder Woman, you know, like fighting the injustices. This is why I feel like I like this comic book a lot more.
Good point. Very good point. Yep. And that's pretty much all for this week. And I hope you guys enjoyed our reviews. But starting next week is the first week of DC Rebirth. The 80-page issue will be coming out, DC Rebirth. That's what will be on our schedule for next week. We'll be reviewing DC Rebirth. And for all new, all different Marvel, we'll be reviewing issues 1 through 10 of The Amazing Spider-Man. Well, ComicBook Clique, have a good night, good day, whatever time you're watching this.
Hasta luego!